Thanks everyone for coming along. I think we'll make a start. It's just past 6 o'clock. So thank you all for coming tonight. I really appreciate it. It was relatively late notice that we put the invite out for you to come along. And if you are here in the audience tonight, whether you are a parent or guardian or a student who's about to make the transition into Year 11, you're here because you've chosen a VCE pathway next year and you've chosen one of your VCE subjects, or one of your subjects rather, to have been a vet, okay, a vet study. What we want to do today is just make sure we're all very much aware of what the VCE with a vet program is about, and also to understand the commitments involved in such a program, so you can leave tonight feeling really confident about what 2024 will involve, but also to talk to us if there are things about the program that were not to your previous knowledge that has maybe caused you to reconsider the approach that you're taking. Okay, so that's the purpose of the evening. We will be fairly brief with our presentation. It won't take too long to get through our slides, but there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions of us toward the end of the evening as well. But before I go any further, I think it's really important that we begin by reading this acknowledgement of country. Our community of Iona College acknowledge the Wadawurrung people as the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather and learn. We pay our respects to the elders, past, present and emerging, who nurtured and preserved this land, and we recognise their continuing connection to country, waters and culture. And before we launch into the information proper, our prayer for this evening, it's a long one, but I think it's a really important prayer as our Year 10 students make the all-important journey into senior school life and for the first time branch out into very different pathways. So, in the name of the Father, the Son and the Holy Spirit. Dear Lord, as we gather before you today, we lift up in prayer the students who will soon be commencing their chosen senior school pathways. We thank you for the journey they have undertaken so far, for the growth and learning they have experienced, and for the potential that lies ahead. We ask for your guidance and blessings upon them as they step into this new phase of their education. Grant them the wisdom to make sound decisions and the courage to embrace challenges with determination. May they approach their studies with a thirst for knowledge and a heart open to understanding. Help them to display a strong work ethic, perseverance, and a sense of responsibility that will serve them well in their academic pursuits and in their life beyond school. Bless their friendships, that they may find companions who uplift and motivate them to be the best versions of themselves. Guard their hearts and minds against doubt and discouragement, filling them instead with confidence and a sense of purpose. Lord, we pray that you instill in these students a hunger for lifelong learning and a desire to use their education to make a positive impact on the world around them. May they be lights of hope, love, and kindness in their schools and their communities. We say all this in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Just want to let you know there's a small number of staff in attendance tonight, but a very important crop of teachers who will play a very important role in the Year 11s of next year. First of all, myself. I forgot my name badge, but at the moment I operate as the Head of Learning and Innovation at the school, and I'll resume that role into 2024. We also have Kirsty Cassidy. Most of you will have heard Kirsty speak at our Pathways Information Evening at the start of the year, and she looks after vet and SBAT at the school, our vet and SBAT leader. Anthea, who was taking attendance as you walked into this space, is currently an innovation leader at the school. She currently looks after student assessment feedback, reporting, and so forth. Next year, she'll be assuming the role of VCE coordinator. So every student who is doing VCE next year, including obviously those students who are studying VCE with a vet, will have a very large connection and relationship with Miss Scholl next year. And we also have Famie Needham over here, Miss Needham, who is of course our Careers and Pathways Coordinator. And whilst not every staff member will be speaking tonight, we'll all be available for questions at the end of the session, whether they be in the whole group setting or individually. The agenda for tonight looks something like this. I won't speak you through each of those dot points, but more than anything, it's really important that you walk away with a very clear understanding of the expectations and commitment of studying a vet subject whilst undertaking the VCE. And for that reason, I'm going to hand over to Kirsty, who knows all about the VET program.
Thank you. Okay, so first thing I want to let you all know is that VET applications have all been received by RTOs and other schools if you've applied to them. Hopefully you've all had some correspondence. Hopefully parents, you would have seen an email that you give consent for your student to have applied. VFA have asked you to do some testing if you've gone that way, but hopefully there's communication coming through. So hopefully that's how we know all applications have gone through, and everyone in this room I have confirmed that an application has gone through. We have not yet had any confirmation, so we don't know if you have been successful in gaining a spot or not. However, that should start happening in the next couple of weeks. Hence, we're just getting you prepared and ready to know what you're undertaking before that comes. And again, really important, we check emails and follow those steps as they come through. So if you have received an email, just make sure you are going through the process. It is very important that you're following those steps so that we can get that result of being accepted into that place.
Now, I think if I could just jump
Absolutely.
in, yeah, I know that sometimes there's a tendency from some students to perhaps not check their emails as often as they should. It's one of those things that might happen once every fortnight or sometimes even less than that, and their inbox is significant. I think this is a time of the year where it needs to be checked pretty regularly.
Yeah.
That's fair to say.
Yeah, and the next point I'll go on to as well is basically with VET, you are going towards an adult working environment. So if you're going to do that, then you need to step up and start being, if you're going into an adult learning environment, therefore you need to step up and check yourselves. Your parents will still be in on correspondence, but this is the opportunity for you to grow as students and to start taking on those senior responsibilities. Now, something to be aware of, that the requirements that are set by VET are not imposed by Iona College. This is done from the Victorian Curriculum and Assessment Authority. So VCAR is who puts in the framework for how we run VCE. So that's always something to keep in mind, that this is Victoria-wide and how we have to do things. And just there are a few more processes in the steps as we come into year 11 and 12. VET studies are organised by external organisations and RTOs. Even if that's at a different school, they're still run by a different RTO that's running that VET program. So again, be aware that we need to follow those requirements as well as suggested. So for a lot of you, it's the Gordon or VFA, so they have their set rules in place and structures in place. So this is why we need to follow them. And just again, to make you prepared that these are the guidelines that we're following. Again, like I just mentioned, we're going into adult learning environments. So this is where you need to take charge and make sure that you're following those steps. Checking emails regularly, making sure that you're doing that work. This is where getting you all prepared as we launch into year 11 and 12, which is really exciting because you are making what you want to do and making your own pathways to create what you want to do after school. So when we're representing Iona College, we need to make sure when you're wearing an Iona College uniform, you are representing the school. So of course we want to just make you aware that please know that that's what you're there for. So you're a reflection on everyone back here at school. So just make sure you're, doing the right thing and all of that, which I know you all will. But again, just to make sure you are aware of that. In terms of uniform, some courses will require you to wear uniform at the course. So for example, if you're doing cookery, you will probably have to put some chef whites on. I know the beauty area, they get you to wear different t-shirts. Different areas will require you to wear different uniforms. But if you're not, you're in that Iona uniform, and just make sure that is a must. You need to make sure you're following OH and S requirements by the provider, so please acknowledge everything that they send out about what you need to do. That includes wearing safety wear, PPE, so protective equipment, so whether that be safety goggles, all of that, you need to have them for your classes as well, and make sure you have them, especially for assessments, etc. But the other really big thing is to make sure that if you do have any concerns, any problems, any time when you are off-site and not here at Iona, I'm still here to help you. I'm still your first point of contact, and I can help you through anything that needs to be done or dealt with. So if that happens to be, you don't feel safe in a situation, or there's something happening, you want to report anything, please make sure you do come talk to me. that's my role. I'm here to help make the connection between the RTOs and other providers to make sure you feel comfortable in that scenario. And make sure, I'm here to help. Again, just make sure you abide by rules. The delivery school, as I said, OH&S is really important, and just keep on top of all that communication that's coming through. The next thing that is really, really important for VET in schools is attendance. Now, you must attend VET each week. You can't really choose not to go. You have to go if you want to pass the course. Again, as I've just mentioned again, adult learning environment, you have to go to make sure that you're passing in, getting those qualifications, especially because you are only there one afternoon a week. So it's important. You can't leave early, and I will show you the times a bit. I have been given times for most places about how long you'll spend there on a Wednesday afternoon. But again, it is really important. You can't leave early. So if you're there, if it says you're there till 6 o'clock, you're there till 6 o'clock every Wednesday night. Because that's the commitment you're giving. You need to put in those hours to be able to get that certificate to finish. So to get your VET certificate, you need to put in the hours. If you can't attend, you do need to notify me, just like you do at school. Notify the school to let us know that you can't attend. You are permitted to have a maximum of 2 absences per semester. An additional 2 approved absences will be allowed per year, for example, for school camps or an excursion, something like that, so you do get them as well. Any more absences, though, may result in an unsatisfactory result. So you've got to keep that in mind. Plus, if you are sick, of course you can, if you're sick, that's fine. But again, you may need to get a medical certificate just to prove that you have that as well. But just all these things to keep in mind that you do need to go and attend. Another thing just to mention too is on a Wednesday, that there at the moment for year 11 you will be going to VET on a Wednesday. So if you can't work, let's be honest, you have to go to your course. Wednesdays will become a night where you have to go to the course. And then in year 12, lots of the courses will change to a Monday. So then you will then be out on a Monday for your VET course. Some still stay on Wednesday, but just something else just to keep in mind. Transport. Now, again, there will be a fee for transport. There is a bus that's run by the Geelong Regional Local Learning Network, and they provide a bus for all of Geelong, for all of the Geelong cluster to get here, there and everywhere. So there'll be buses going out to Ballerine Secondary College, into Geelong, East Geelong, out to Covenant College. So big system in place for all the schools around Geelong. They will be notifying us towards the start of next year exactly how that's run. But hopefully I will be able to give you some indication at the end of this year once we know how all the applications fall. But again, just remember that you will need a way to get home. So we can get you to where you need to go. So to Geelong, if it's VFA, there'll be a station. They all jump off, walk down to the Gordon TAFE or walk across to VFA. Otherwise, there's another bus to then get connected to Covenant College if you're headed out that way. There's another bus that will go to Geelong High. So it's a great network system in place. However, just keep that in mind. But you will need to find your way home. So that's something to consider, that you need to either be picked up from Geelong, Bellpost Hill, over at Geelong High School. Again, keeping all these factors in play that you need to just be aware of. Some students will be required to travel independently to and from the venue of their course. For example, there are a few that may do their course on a Wednesday morning, so you would need to get to the Gordon by 9 a.m. on a Wednesday morning to do it. We will try our best to get you back to Iona on a bus. Obviously, all the buses will be going the other way, but again, we will see what we can do. But that, again, is something to factor in to your timetable, that there is that transport. So hence we wanted to make sure parents were aware that that is your responsibility as well. The next thing I want to talk about is structured workplace learning. So by doing VCE VET program, this is a great opportunity to give you great on-the-job skills, great knowledge, mastering all those things that you need to take into the workplace to help you even at university. There's some great studies that have been shown. For example, VET engineering is a great help to then go and study engineering at university. So all these things, it is a great way. However, just be aware that structured workplace learning, you do have to put the time and effort in. And as a VCE student, you will need to do this in your own time. So this means you will need to do it in school holidays, potentially on weekends, but it is something you need to, again, factor in to your schedule throughout the year. For example, the Certificate 3 in Allied Health requires you to do 80 hours of mandatory placement as part of your course. So that is mandatory, so you do have to do it to pass the course. That is done over the 2 years though. I did clarify that, it's definitely over the 2 years, but it's equivalent to 10 days. So over that time you do have to do 10 days of work placement to pass the course. All courses do require you to do some kind of placement, however some are mandatory, some are extremely highly recommended. And obviously it's going to benefit you to go out into the workplace to see how it's all put into action. So just again, something to factor in, that you may be spending 2 weeks of your holiday doing some placement. But again, if it's something that you love doing, I'm sure it's not a problem and you will fit that in, but just wanted to be upfront and clear about that. This is a rough, well not a rough, these were all confirmed with me of how the times will look next year. There are some courses missing from this list because I haven't got them yet, but I will communicate that as soon as I do receive. But something to note, for example, if you're studying Certificate 3 at Allied Health, you're there from 1 till 5:30. Beauty services, we're just confirming if it'll be an AM session or a PM. Cookery is from 1:30 till 6:30. Whereas others are only 1:30 till 4. So just, it is really important that you check the timings. The big one to point out is the Certificate 3 in Screen and Media Game Design. That is Wednesday morning, so from 9 to 1. So, which would mean you miss the first 4 periods at school and then you'd be back for 5, 6.
Just before you go on, I'm just wondering,
absolutely.
can people at the back see that?
Can you actually see that?
Yeah, some not. I don't know if it's worth reading out those really quickly.
Yeah, so for Allied Health at the Gordon is 1:30 till 4:30. Certificate 3 in Allied Health at VFA is 1 till 5:30. Certificate 2 in Animal Care at the Gordons 1:15 till 5:15. Beauty services, as I mentioned, not sure if it's AM or PM, but if it's PM it's 1:30 till 5:30. Cookery is 1:30 till 6:30. Design fundamentals is at East Geelong 1:30 till 4:30. Early childhood at VFA is 1 till 5:30. Early childhood at the Gordon is 1:30 till 5. Engineering is at the Gordon East Campus 1:30 till 6 p.m. Fashions out at Surf Coast 1 till 5. Fitness at VFA is 1 till 5:30. Hospitality at the Gordons 1:30 till 5:30. And as I mentioned, screen and media. So there are a few missing, I know that. For example, animal studies out at Covenant College. There was a few that applied for that one. I am still confirming that, but most likely will be that 1:30 till 5 time slot. And I'm not sure, I think everything else is almost up there. If there is any questions, I can help find that after. So what will happen as well, while we're on this slide back to the transport, is there will be a bus that will come at about 12:30 here to Iona, and that's the bus that will, with the network, they'll then jump on the bus to then go everywhere else that they need to go. So that is going into potentially period 3, but definitely period 4, that's when the travel will happen to then be there at the courses. That then leads us in to our timetabling and how the timetable is set up for year 11. So students will be off campus studying their vet subject on a Wednesday morning or afternoon. That is how we have planned out the timetable. And at the time of it being built, we weren't sure how they would all place. As you can see, a lot of them are Wednesday afternoon, which is fantastic, and that's great that we've been able to do that. However, we weren't sure if there would be some mornings, so we have factored in both. So, which is a great thing. Periods 1 and so actually I might pass over here, and then we can go over to the slides of how it all works.
Okay, so I'm just going to speak briefly about the timetable, just so we can compare what a VCE standard timetable looks like as a student who's doing solely VCE 1 and 2 subjects. Versus a student who's doing VCE with a vet, right? Because there is some significant differences in what a timetable might look like. What I've written here is when we built the timetable, because it is essentially built already. The 2024 timetable is already in place. Of course, there might be a few tweaks and adjustments here and there, but it's essentially been built. And we built that early in the piece, not knowing whether students would be going off to study their vet in the mornings or the afternoon. As a result of that, we made sure that we give students a free period. And when we say free period, what we're actually talking about is a supervised study period, and I'll talk more about that later on. One Wednesday, period 1 and 2, and then we gave them that same supervised study period, the alternating Wednesday, period 5 and 6. We knew this would make sure that they were able to be at their vet and not miss class for at least 1 week of our fortnightly timetable. Over here, you won't be able to see it, and it's all in code, all right? This is what a VCE timetable looks like. Probably just to guide you through it, particularly for people toward the back who won't be able to read this very well. On the leftmost column are the weeks. So it starts by saying Monday 1, Tuesday 1, Wednesday 1, and then it works its way down to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday 2. What you will notice is that a VCE timetable for the typical VCE student is all very neat. They will study 6 Unit 1 and 2 subjects, unless of course a student has become a part of the accelerated learning program, in which case they would be also studying 1 Unit 3 and 4 subject. These subjects are studied 9 times across a fortnight. That's 9 45-minute periods. We fill up the rest of the fortnight with 4 45-minute periods of school-based RE, not Unit 1 and 2 RE, but school-based RE, which obviously we're mandated to teach as a Catholic school, and they will have 2 45-minute study periods. Where that's different to those of you in the room who are doing VCE Vet is suddenly VCE Vet students have a larger number of supervised study periods, and they are represented in this particular timetable in blue. Okay. So if you take a look, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of those, and the reason they have so many supervised study periods is because, of course, they're studying 1 less Unit 1 and 2 VCE study. They're studying 1 less Unit 1 and 2 because, of course, they're going off to study their vet. The vet will be happening, as we've mentioned already, on the Wednesday mornings or mostly the Wednesday afternoons. The green box here represents students who are going off-site to study their vet. So this mock timetable will show a student going off to study their vet on Wednesday afternoon of week 1. Perfect for them, they don't have any classes at that time. Okay, so they can go off and study their vet without their normal program being interrupted. In the second week of our fortnight, unfortunately, the way the timetable's been built, and this is unavoidable, they will miss 1 of the Unit 1 and 2 subjects for a particular double period. This mock timetable here has a student missing their Unit 1 and 2 outdoor ed class. This is why those supervised study periods become so vital for those of you studying your VCE Vet. Okay? It's absolutely crucial that you use at least 2 of the 7 supervised study periods to catch up on the Unit 1 and 2 class that's been missed. Okay? So this mock student over here who misses Unit 1 and 2 outdoor ed, they would absolutely need to spend 1 of those blue supervised study periods catching up on what was done in that particular class. They'll be able to find out precisely what was done by accessing Simon, where there'll be a detailed lesson plan of everything that was done. The teachers who will be supervising these study periods will all be VCE teachers or leaders of some capacity. So it'll either be myself in my learning and teaching role, or it will be Anthea in her VCE coordination role, or it will be a Unit 1 and 2 or Unit 3 and 4 VCE teacher. Just clicking over here because this just shows you what a mock timetable might look like for a student who's actually leaving to study their vet in the morning. Okay, so similar scenario, on Wednesday of week 1, a student's going off to study their vet. They don't have any classes scheduled at that time, so that's not a problem. On the second week of their fortnight, they're missing Unit 1 and 2 of their food studies class. They will then need to catch up on that Unit 1 and 2 class. The other thing I want to mention is that we very deliberately put study periods and RE, school-based RE, at periods 3 and 4 on the Wednesdays that students will be going off to the vet. So again, if we take a look here at Wednesday of week 1, the third green rectangle is Year 11 school-based RE, and then the green rectangle after that is a supervised study period. This means that students who need to travel back and forth between school and their vet won't be missing anything that is going to be too detrimental to their eventual scored subjects. So I hope that makes sense. This is a little confusing, timetable stuff is, and that's exactly why I invited Mr. Heath Cambridge along tonight. He's our college timetabler. So if any of that is confusing, and it's taken me a long time to understand timetabling, thanks to his expertise, please, we can direct questions his way later on, or we can speak to him individually. But I guess a really exciting thing for all VCE vet students is the fact that the study periods are supervised by expert VCE teachers, and it's a great opportunity to catch up on all the work that may be missed from your travel to and from the college. Talking about Mr. Heath Cambridge, I also want to talk obviously about Anthea Scholl, experienced VCE teacher and the VCE coordinator of next year. So she's just going to run through a few bits and pieces that you need to know just about the general running of VCE. So I'll hand it over to Anthea.
Nice to see you all, and yeah, I've known a lot of you since the beginning at Year 7, so to see us coming to the senior end is really nice. Just a little bit touch on the ATAR. This was covered in the VCE Information Night that was on quite a while ago, but just to break through some of that jargon again, you can see there that the ATAR stands for the Australian Tertiary Admission Rank. A lot of students who do VCE will be striving for an ATAR. Not all will, but it's good to just have the information about what the ATAR is and how doing a vet plays into the ATAR. So the ATAR is calculated by the end of year exams, the SAC, the school assessed coursework, which teachers will mark. It's a combination of that, and then what will happen is that score goes together, the ranking, sorry, it's not actually a score, it's a ranking, and then the universities largely use that. There's a lot of differences with different courses, so it's certainly not every single course, but the universities do largely use the ATAR in their selection process. So the vet subjects will also still attract, some of them will attract a score. So it means that there will be a contribution to the ATAR, if that's what you're aiming for, and an exam in that subject as well. So just to have a look here, and I'm not sure if you can see at the back, but there's a number there: allied health, cookery, engineering, hospitality, music, screen and media, sport and rec, the Cert 3 and some of the Cert 2 subjects there do attract an ATAR score. And if yours isn't listed up there and you're still looking for an ATAR, your subject will still contribute to your ATAR. It's a little bit complicated how it works, but it's a 10%, and I can talk you through that individually if that applies to you. Are there any questions? Is the last bit, but I think I'm going to...
Yeah, so we wanted, we've done it. We've met our sort of aim to get through that information in about half an hour. All right, we wanted to make that sort of short and sharp and to get through the most important information, but to allow you an opportunity to ask questions of us. Everything that's been presented tonight has been spoken about previously, but perhaps not in quite as much depth. And we understand there might be possibilities where those of you have been a little taken back or surprised by some of the information, particularly the length of the courses and how deeply they might eat into your evenings. I think it was spoken about earlier, but when you actually see it on the screen, it can be a bit of a shock knowing that is what next year could look like for you on those Wednesday afternoons. So, is there anybody who has a question I want to fire away with? And you can obviously direct it to any one of us, as your VC coordinator, your vet leader, myself, in my learning and innovation role. We've got Famie somewhere around in her careers role, as she is, because there still might be careers-based questions, right? You know, perhaps something about tonight has prompted someone to think, oh, you know, is this even the right direction for me? Maybe it's no longer where I want to be headed. So there's Famie over there and timetable questions for Heath Cambridge over here too. So yes, please.
What you said just led into what I was thinking. What happens if your student does the first semester of the course and just goes, you know what, this is not for me? How do I then adjust my study?
And I apologise, definitely something I have missed and I definitely should have talked about. So what happens with vet is you basically have the first 2 weeks of vet, so next year, and if you completely don't like it, you don't want to do it, that's when you need to exit the course, because if you stay any longer, you will be charged full fees for the year, not for 2 years, just for the 1 year. So it's something definitely to keep in mind. So there's a census date, which is generally around the 1st of March. So basically you have February to go, okay, no, this is definitely not what I want to do. I need to leave, that's when you need to do it. Otherwise, you are stuck in that course then for the rest of the year. Now, I don't mean stuck in a bad way. I just mean you need to keep going. You've paid for that, essentially, or your parents have paid. So that is something definitely to keep in mind. It is highly recommended, obviously, that if you want to get the qualification, you need to do 2 years, but otherwise you can get a partial qualification after 12 months. So if you didn't want to continue in year 12, that is a possibility as well. You definitely walk away with the units that you have done. So do keep that in mind as well. And yeah, I hope that's sort of answered that question. But yes, if you do want to, that's why you do need to consider these things, that it is extra time, extra money. So definitely think about that before we we're definitely doing it.
One thing I will say is, should a student drop out, the VCE subjects that would then be available for them to slip into will be limited, right? And that's something that students will need to be aware of. And again, it's due to timetabling constraints. When a student will be off studying their vet, will only have a certain number of VCE subjects, so they wouldn't be able to choose from the whole suite of VCE subjects like they originally would have. The other thing I should mention is, whilst it would cost, if a student would drop out of their vet halfway through the year, if they complete that first semester and pass, that will still go towards the credits of completing their VCE. So every unit of study essentially gets yourself a credit point, and that means not all is lost. It may be that the student doesn't complete their vet and they won't get that certificate in the end, but it still does contribute toward the eventual attainment of their VCE.
And there could be a possibility that they then could come into a Unit 2 study at VCE at the school, but once again, that would be, the big constraints around what's available and what fits in with what they've selected already. But yeah,
It's a good question. Yeah.
I've got a timetabling question
Yes.
in regards to a student who's already accelerating.
Yes.
With the way that you've already built the timetable and the fact that they are going to miss some units,
Yes.
will there be consideration for trying to really avoid them missing the 3-4 subject unit?
As best we can, yeah. I think there's already a situation where they may miss a 45-minute period, perhaps, but it depends on whether it's the morning or the afternoon. We'll try as best we can to avoid the 3-4 subjects.
Yeah, I think the chance of that is pretty slim, but I think there may be that one 45-minute class at this stage. It wouldn't be a double over the fortnight. So it will be potentially one 45-minute class. One thing I will mention though is in moving from Unit 1 and 2 to 3 and 4, there's actually one additional period a week. So as I mentioned earlier, there are 9 45-minute periods of Unit 1 and 2 study across the fortnight. There are 10 45-minute lessons of a Year 12 Unit 3-4 study.
Okay.
So
even more reason to try and avoid them.
well, the student would still be studying 9 45 minutes as opposed to
Yeah.
the 10. Yeah, far away.
With the percentage of ATAR and the vet subjects,
Yes.
how does that work with the ones that are scored?
so
Well, we can't say one thing because this is convoluted and
it's very common.
Michelle knows
So
better than
are
I
you
do.
asking about if yours isn't scored or if yours is scored?
No, so I know the one that I did sign up to do is scored.
Is scored. So
How does that
that would set, like any VCE subject, they take your top scores for your VCE units and vet units, and that becomes part of your ATAR, and then your 5th or 6th, if you've done 6, adds on to the bottom as a little 10% at the bottom. So yeah, that's how it accumulates.
So really students need to excel particularly in 4 subjects. Right? Their best performing 4 subjects is what really largely contributes to the ATAR score. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So one of those vet subjects
Yeah.
could be that.
So
But for a
just
student to get that impact of the ATAR as a result of their vet, they do need to complete the end of year exam in that particular study, but some students might opt not to do that, if that makes sense. So that list of studies that were up there on the screen just a slide or 2 ago, there might be some students amongst us who, when they get to Year 12, they don't want it as a scored study and they won't set that end of year exam. It's a good question.
So the subjects again on the vet side of things, they are designed as a 2-year course for the students.
In
They're
most
not
cases.
a short course, so to speak.
No, because it's only one afternoon. That's why it's spread across the 2 years, which is equivalent to, for example, certificate 2 in electrotechnology you can do that course full-time in 12 weeks. However, because it's done the way it is with school, it is exactly the same course that an adult would do in that case. However, it's got to be spread over the 2 years to get those hours.
We may already be at the end of our questions.
Feel free to hang around.
I want to let you know, if that is it for questions in this large group sense, that's fine, but you're more than welcome to stick around and ask individual questions. If you've got a question that might pertain to you individually, you can ask questions of any of us. If that is all for the general questions though, we will wrap up the night. We want to thank you for obviously coming along. You know, it's significant what is just around the corner for all the young people in this room. You know, it is a huge step moving from year 10 into year 11, and particular for those students who are doing a VCE with a vet. Like Kirsty mentioned, it is a big commitment, and it really is stepping into the adult world. We as teachers are going to support students left, right and centre to make sure they are passing and thriving and really doing all they can to excel in their studies. I don't know if that same level of support is going to be provided by those external organisations out there that really want students to fend for themselves, and you know, that's something to be aware of. You know, it involves being responsible, it involves being adult, it obviously involves meeting all the expectations, it involves being to places on time, being punctual, it involves getting medical certificates if required, and it really means committing to a program that's much like the workplace will be in the adult world. So it's exciting, and it's a real step up. I think it's a really important step up actually for a lot of students, which is really good. So yes, you've got a question.
Another. So in terms of the delivery of the students to their courses, will they do a dry run so they know on the campus that they're going to where they have to go, or is there someone meeting them there so they can familiarise themselves
so in terms
in that
of
first 2
transport,
weeks?
Yeah, so for the first 2 weeks, they do usually have marshals on the buses to again help with that, and they call it the interchange, which is at Matthew Flinders, and that's where all the buses come to take them then to the next step if they need to go to other places as well. But yes, there will be people there in the first 3 weeks just to make sure that they know where they're going. There should be people, for example, at the Gordon in the entrances to make sure. But there will also be, for example, the Gordon will have some information nights directly at the Gordon for vet students, if that was where to go, so they should be able to show you the room on that night. They will be in November. I think it's the 21st and 28th, something like that. There'll be an opportunity to go and see that. VFA, I'm pretty sure, have an information night as well for their students. So again, hopefully students will understand where to go, but yes, it doesn't, I mean, you're welcome to do a dry run, you'd know, just to see what it's all about or where to go, so. Yes.
Final reminders, please check your emails, all right? It's so important. There's going to be communications coming to you that you're going to need to be on top of, so please make sure you're doing that. If there has been anything said tonight that is already making anyone in the room second guess, all right, their vet selection, please see us straight away, all right? Because we can potentially do something about it now. Probably not too far down the track though. As I said, the timetable for 2024 is already pretty much built.